Hi everyone, this is Chanel,
I'm Anne-Marie Gaidosh.
and welcome to Sweet 15.
Jade Zaroff is an award-winning creative producer, actress, and the founder for Entertainment for Change, a nonprofit organization that encourages emerging and established artists to develop work related to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. She also currently works as a voiceover artist for iHeartMedia. Jade and I first met through a youth platform called the Conversationalist, and I quickly became inspired by her energy and her work ethic. But in honor of February, the highly marketed month of love, today we are here to talk about Jade and her love life. Jade, welcome to Sweet 15.
Thank you for having me, Sweet 15. Happy February.
Happy February. Oh my goodness. We're already like going into like the second month of 2024.
No, it's so crazy.
I
Like the other
know.
day, I was like, wow, the time really flies. Like we're basically 2 months into the year, 2 out of 12. We're six of the way through the year.
Sixth away.
It's crazy.
Okay, my grandma used to I mean it's not now I feel bad. It's like not even that big of a deal. But she used to always say to me, like life after college is gonna totally speed up so much. And I was always like, um, nah, like grandma. And she was always like, yeah, it will. And then it did. She was
Oh my
Yeah, my
gosh.
mom used to say the exact same thing, and I felt the same way. And I think this is the first year where I'm finally like, oh my God, like it does really go so fast.
yeah,
No
no.
one no one told me this before. This is the first time I'm hearing about it, and but I feel it for sure. I just never thought of like what life would be after college. So I feel like I don't know. I thought it was just gonna be like work, sleep, like just like the rat race of it all. But it's fun. I kind of like it.
Kind of like it.
I don't like it. Not too bad. Oh, but also, Jade, tell us a little bit about yourself, other than like the introduction Emery gave. What more like should the people know about you?
What more should the people know? Well, I love popcorn and seaweed snacks. That's like my go-to snack. Um, I love a good diner. I love to like keep creativity in my life, which kind of is reflective of what I try to do with the nonprofit, just in terms of what I'm
Mm,
promoting to young people, but in my own life, like never painted, but I'll pick up a paintbrush just because I'm like, this seems like a really fun activity today.
mm,
I record meditations, which I started during COVID, which was like my passion project, which is kind of what allowed me to start a brand new trajectory for voiceover. Um, and I'm definitely a very kind of organized, chaotic person and very
love that.
spontaneous. I love to
Mm,
have fun. So I think valuable information for the viewers out there, for the out there, besides the popcorn fact.
no,
I definitely think that like being creative, both in like
yeah,
work and in my personal life, is one of the most important things to me. Um,
yeah,
the spontaneity of it is can be maybe troublesome, but like in terms
mm,
of impulsivity, but overall, it's really been a valuable um trait, I guess, of mine.
yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And I have to say, the popcorn and seaweed thing is important because I'm trying to find like a new healthy snack. And I feel like
Mm,
popcorn and seaweed, like this is perfect. Like it's probably I'm gonna steal this. This is probably gonna be my new
yeah,
like
feel
snack.
it.
Stealing it.
So is it like popcorn and then you put seaweed in it? Like what? Or you're eating
Oh my God,
popcorn and seaweed together?
that's a brilliant question. No, I didn't put it in together. Although I have before and was like shunned by my brother. Like, what are you doing? So I wouldn't necessarily be like an advocate for it, especially if seaweed snacks is like a new thing for you. I wouldn't like jump the gun and put them in
Okay.
popcorn. But popcorn with truffle oil and nutritional yeast, or just truffle oil if nutritional yeast freaks you out, or just like a good old seaweed snack. Buy it now, they sell it, so I've been eating them
Yes.
since I was little, but they're like you can buy
Yeah.
them in the store.
Okay, perfect.
Wow.
It's on my grocery list. It's on my
This is,
grocery list.
this is a crossover I didn't know I needed to know about. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Your daily
Yeah.
inspiration. There you go.
And as we'll be talking about love, we kind of also wanted to ask you, like, what is your love language and what is your attachment style?
Mm. Okay, love. Giving or receiving for love language
We could
or
do both. We
Oh,
could do
she
both.
knows her love languages.
Yes.
I've been thinking about, well, we will talk, but my nonprofit, we have love language as part of our curriculum to teach teenagers.
Oh, I
So love
love
languages is
that.
something that I'm like, we have a whole chapter on like leadership and how that
Yeah.
is part of love. Um, but my and then my last question before I answer your question, attachment style, I'm like familiar with, but
Hmm.
it's specific ones I'm supposed to choose from, or should I be like, I don't, just generally speaking, here's my opinion on the matter.
I think to give
Yeah.
your
So the ones
opinion.
that
Yeah.
Emery, do you want to go? Do you want to take this one on?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I believe there's three and a half. I don't know if the half one counts, but there's like secure, anxious, avoidant, and there's also like anxious avoidant or fearful avoidant, which is like a combination of the two. But if you feel like you're not too familiar with them, you could also just give your opinion on the matter.
Okay, cool. Okay, I am uh a gift giver in my love.
Hmm.
I'm like a big like what are specific things about you and how can I like bring that world into your life in a creative way? Kind of like goes off of what I was just talking about. I love to like be really creative. So the time I spent thinking about like what kind of gift to give someone is
Hmm.
how I really share love. And but I'm also like a very affectionate person in general. I just think that like it happens in different ways, like in sporadic
Yeah.
ways with all the other love languages.
Hmm.
And then the way that I receive is probably um probably quality time. I think that I like really appreciate when I know someone is actually
Hmm.
like paying attention to me and not because I need the attention, but just so
Yeah.
that I can feel like they care and like they
Hmm.
actually, because it's like we're such imperfect people all of the
Yeah.
time that when someone really cares about you, they spend the time to be like, what's going on today? Like how
Hmm.
today? What's happening? Um, versus like this is their idea of you and now they're experiencing you just to like get you checked off of a list.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then I think my attachment style is um I'm feeling like, you know how you wake up on a Sunday morning and you're like a little goofy. I'm like, you're getting me. And then my attachment style, I think is I think that I am probably in the avoidant world.
Yeah.
I find that like my independence means a lot to me. And so I probably notice the most of myself like wanting space. Jay Shetty has like three that are like kind of similar, but it's like how
Hmm.
do you fight? And you're like the venter, the um the hider or the exploder. And I
Yeah.
am the hider in those three. Like I really like to just kind of process and be like give my mind some time to just even like have experienced the thing and
Yeah.
time to like process it. Um, so yeah, probably like a little bit more on the avoidant side.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're the same.
I was gonna say,
Okay.
as you were
I
saying that,
think
I
we're
was
the
like,
same.
that's literally Chanel's.
Quinn.
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
hide as well. And if you don't give me the time to hide, I will explode.
This
Okay.
that makes sense. I feel like a hider could very quickly become an exploder.
Just don't
Yeah.
make me hide.
Yeah. Like the exploder is like where your emotions need to be heard or seen or like right away, like that kind of. And I
Yeah.
tend to need the like separating myself. And then I think I'm more defensive, but I'm not necessarily like
Yeah.
chill.
And I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
What is your favorite gift that you've given since you're so into sharing gifts and doing things in a creative way?
Wow. I think my favorite gift that I've given is my brother is 2.5 years younger than me. And when he turned 21, I gave him 21 gifts from our childhood. So like all of
Oh,
the kind of like 90s toys that we used to play with when we were growing up.
yeah.
Um, or like all of our favorite candies and stuff. He opened it and I definitely felt like with no ego, I was like, this is like the best gift ever. Like, can't wait for him to tell all of his friends that his older sister is the most incredible person in his life. And he was like, okay, cool. Like he was pretty like chill about it to this day.
Yeah.
Like that was a really nice gift. But that was my favorite gift to like put together and give him because it was like 21 days of Hanukkah. Like it just kept going.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Like that is so thoughtful. I think that's the thing about gift giving. It's not just about like getting a present, but it's like the thought you put into it that makes it the love language.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally. It's like 2 hours online. It's like it's like putting 2 hours into a workday.
exactly, exactly.
It's a whole process.
Oh,
It's funny. My little sister, her love language is like gift giving and also receiving. And
Hmm.
I hate giving gifts. I hate receiving
Hmm.
gifts. It makes me so uncomfortable. And so I had to really learn that love language and learn how to be a good gift giver to kind of like return that way. And I feel like finally recently I think I've learned how to give a good gift. I feel like there's just so much thought that goes into it. It makes me so uncomfortable.
Hmm. No, I've thought about like becoming a wedding planner for gift giving. Like I'm like, should I like give? But I don't even. I'm like that was like a bedtime thought.
oh, that's a good idea.
But now it's the morning and it's a morning thought. So maybe it's gonna be a
Now
future.
it's a morning reflection. I'm definitely back.
And of course, we'll jump into like your relationship and your partner and everything. But do you feel like your partner has the reciprocity? What's the word? Like
Reciprocity.
has the yeah of
Yeah.
like the love language or like whatever you love giving, they love accepting, or have you had to like learn how to like kind of I don't know change how you give love depending on how they want to receive it?
I think that I was very like I'm very in my nature sensitive.
Mm,
So I will uh just as like much as I appreciate having quality time, I find it really important to like give that quality time to people.
mm,
To me, like quality time, as I said before, in how I receive it the most effectively, I like my mom always taught me growing up, like treat others the way you want to be treated. So I think organically,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm gonna give people quality time. And in giving people quality time, you learn a lot about someone. So
Mm-hmm.
speak for myself because I can't speak for my boyfriend, but like the thing that I love about him is he's just as sensitive and he's just and too
Mm,
like observing and then like if he doesn't act in a way that's perfect, which is not the
yeah.
expectation, I feel fine to say like this is kind of what I'm experiencing. But ultimately it's all okay because I know that he cares enough to change if I need that.
Yeah.
Or not change, no expectation for anyone to change, but just like alter. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I think that my boyfriend's he receives uh like physical touch and more like
Mm,
affirmations, like that side of things. Um,
yeah.
as I said before, like I'm such a loving person. Like I really give love in such a like big way that I think it's easy for me to like respond to that need.
Mm,
It's not really like inaccessible. It doesn't feel like
yeah.
because my both my parents, as much as they're divorced and like they're not, there's a different kind of love there. Both of my
Yeah.
parents were big, like they just give a lot of love. And so like
Yeah.
kind of just I'm easily like, here's all my love. Like if you need it, like
Oh,
I'll hug you, I'll give you.
yeah.
And then for him, like yeah, quality time is easy for him to give.
Yeah.
He's a hard worker, but there's a lot of like yellow brick roads I can go on and like giving you my like why this is because of childhood and da 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 da. But overall, like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think that it's been a very organic um learning of what we need.
Mm-hmm.
I think how I'll end that tangent, like I think that when you find someone where life is hard, but it starts out
Mm-hmm.
easy, like the foundation is easy, then that's in my opinion, that's
Yeah,
finding your person. Like I think it's really nice when things are easy. They shouldn't be life is hard enough. They shouldn't be hard
exactly.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
So we want to know more about your partner. How did you guys meet? You mentioned, it was easy in the beginning and that's how you know you found your person. So tell us a little bit more about that process. How did you meet him?
How did you meet? How did we meet? So we met on a dating app called the
Okay.
Lox Club, LOX, like bagels.
Okay, let me this.
I just signed up for this like a couple weeks ago, but I
Really?
haven't actually like engaged with it yet.
Yeah, sponsor me. No, I'm like a big Lox Club gal. I was in a really long relationship through high
Mm-hmm.
school and college, and it was the classic, like, this is it, my person. Like, I've, I'm basically 50. Like,
Yeah.
this is it. And then when we broke up, I was like living in New York City, so excited
Mm-hmm.
to just like meet people. I think, and I say this to my friends all the time, like if you shift your perspective and
Mm-hmm.
the kinds of the feelings that you get when you're like dating app, like, oh, this sucks. Like my perspective was like, I'm learning so much about myself through this experience. Like I'm learning like when I'm nervous and like
Mm-hmm.
how this person makes me feel. Like, why are they making me feel that way? And like, why am I responding so defensively right now? Like, it's just such a cool observation of yourself that you're more keen to when you go on a date where you're like, oh, this is it. Like, it's not about that
Yeah.
person. It's about how you're experiencing that moment. And like, that's the coolest part, I think, in dating is like that moment when you're really comfortable is probably a person that you want to spend more time with because you're like, I love the way I feel right now. Um,
Yeah.
so that, but yes, we met on a date. It doesn't, I'm like, still haven't answered your question. We met on a dating app. My grandma, back to my grandma always.
Oh, grandma.
I know she's got to like have, like every time I mention her, her like ears are buzzing. She said to me after like a couple of years of being on dating apps where I say to her, "Oh, I met this guy." Da, 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 da. She was like, "I saw a article in the New York Times about the Locks Club, and it looks really
No.
nice." And I I cut it out of the newspaper and I mailed
Oh.
the New York Times article, and I just want you to go on and make a profile. And I was like, okay, Grammy. Like, all right. Like maybe. And then I was like, you know what? I like want to do everything to make my grandma happy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. And then it costed money. And I was like, Grammy, like
Are
you're
you paying for
It's
this?
an
are
investment.
are you sponsoring my Locks Club profile? Like, what's going on? And so I made a profile and like I kid you not, it was one of these things. What I will say, this is a longer conversation that, good thing this is about love, but right before I met Jordan, who's my partner, he I made and I said this to him when I met him, I made a list of exactly what I wanted. And I felt, and this is like what I feel really confident or passionate about. I made a
Yeah.
and I didn't just make a list because I like wanted to be in a relationship. I made a list because like at that point I knew exactly what mattered to me. And it took
Mm.
me like 6 years to actually really know like what exactly I wanted in a partner. And it wasn't like they were like really simple things. Like Jordan kept saying like, let me see the list. And I was like, it's nothing crazy. It's just like something that it's both like how I feel and like how I
Yeah.
and the qualities that just like I know for myself are like really important. Like I am a hider,
Mm.
so I need someone who's patient. I am like
Mm.
I am very sensitive and sometimes I'll cry right before I go to sleep, but I need someone who like has a sense of humor about it because I
Yeah.
I do it so often that like I don't want it to be a big thing. I'm like
Yeah.
a sensitive person, and like sometimes I'm crying. And if you make fun of me a little for it, like I won't take it personally. I actually enjoy that because it lightens the mood. Like there are certain things
Yeah.
I know are really so made a list. And then the last part of the story, he made a profile on the Locks Club because his like best friend from middle school told him to, similar to my grandma. The
Yeah.
friend who told him to make a profile was subletting my apartment at the time, like randomly.
No.
So we went.
No.
I believe they were in cahoots. I believe
I
your friend and your
know.
Your
grandma
grandma
set
knew.
y'all up.
That's what we say. We were like, yeah, Grammy and Phil, like, what did they do? They just
Little
were
matchmakers.
little matchmakers. But yeah, and that was we're gonna come up on 3 years in February.
Wow.
Oh. No, it's crazy because one of the questions on the list on the interview agenda is
Yeah.
if you made a list. Like that was one of the questions.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
as well, I just seen a TikTok, and this girl was talking about how she pretty much like she was talking about like manifesting in some sense, where it's like once she kind of decides exactly what she wants, she'll let go of it. She's like, I know exactly what I want. Let it go, and like the universe, whatever, does anything to line it up in a way that it comes to you exactly when you need it to. And then she said, sometimes like if you don't know exactly what you want at the time, that's when it doesn't come because you're like a little bit like wishy-washy about it. So the fact that you said you knew exactly what you wanted, and he's like, okay, this is it. It's like, amazing.
Yeah. And there's different areas of my life that I still am like, what do I want? And I'm like, but I want it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I remind myself, I'm like, Jade, like you're like, what are you even trying to manage
Mm,
at that point? And I think it's like
yeah.
there was a period in my life where I was like, I really want to be in a relationship again so that I can like, and then I was like, I don't even really say that confidently yet. Like
Mm,
I'm a little bit like, I really want to be in a relationship. And I'm like, why do I want to be in a relationship? Like,
yeah.
why do I really? Because yeah, no, I mean, yes, I think the letting go part of what you said is really cool
Mm-hmm.
because then you know that like you're not attached to
Yeah.
anything except for what you know to be true, which is like this is the
Mm-hmm.
that I want and deserve, and like it's an easier
Exactly.
feeling to have.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think it's so nice that you said it took you like 6 years, but that's how long it took you to figure out what you actually wanted. I think a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
people come out of a long-term relationship and they jump right into something new. And I feel like you lose that whole process of learning about yourself. And so I'm curious, how did you figure out what exactly you wanted?
Um, Dating in New York City is a big lesson. Um, s- kind of like piggybacking off of what I said before of like
Mm-hmm.
really, really giving each date quality time. So like even if it wasn't the person that I was gonna like get a second date with or anything, like I
Yeah.
really like even if I went on a date and I was like, this person better text me back after. Like, I'm in love with this person. Like, this person is just like the love of my life, period. Um,
Yeah.
Probably not true, but it's so cool to be like, I have a crush on this person. Like, it's cool. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's cool to like experience how you feel, where like I would then, even if I wasn't like fully conscious, like I wasn't like on a date being like, wow, I really have a crush on this person. Like what do I like about this person? But or
Mm,
you go home at night and you think about it and you're like, why do I like
yeah.
me? Um, Instead of giving that person the power, giving yourself
Mm-hmm.
that power and being like, wow, I really like this person. Like, why do I really like this person? Like, why do I really
Mm-hmm.
like this person? Am I like just incredibly attracted to them? Because like that's a
Yeah.
reason when people are like, oh yeah, I'm on a date and like I think it's like they do not have every single human looks different and that's like the most beautiful part of life, but like
Yeah.
if you're not attracted to someone, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a person for everyone. Like that's okay to admit to yourself that you're not attracted to someone. I don't think it should be this like really intense like it's it can be like I'm attracted or not, but
Yeah.
That can be enough of a reason to like say like, oh, I want to be attracted to someone on a list, like
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of like, what do I deserve question marks, and I don't think it should be like I deserve this like this quintessential person that everybody thinks is like the most attractive person. Like your attraction can be specific to you, and I think like
Mm-hmm.
adding that to your list is cool. And then like uh I just like qualities in myself that I really love about myself are things I added to the
Yeah.
list. I think like like I said before, like my sensitivity is something that I feel proud to give to people. So to receive
Yeah.
that from someone else is like something I would love to have. Um, and then I like to laugh. I think like being able to laugh with someone, and then things like top thing again. Thanks, Grammy. But my grandma's biggest relationship advice to me my entire life was usually it's always about my mom. So I'm glad that this is like leaning towards my grandma. Um, just like making sure that they're your best friend. Like even I'm sure like doing a podcast together is something that is like you're in a relationship with someone in a
We
consistent way.
are.
Like
Yep.
why did you two want to do, not that you're in a romantic relationship, but why did you two want to, why
That's
can
my girlfriend right there. That's my girlfriend.
yeah, your work wife. Like, why, what made you, how are you able to do a podcast together? Like, I think you
Yeah.
should translate that to a relationship like, not
Mm-hmm.
you, but like people, like, oh, I'm in this podcast relationship with someone. Like, what about this relationship works for me? And then putting that on your list romantically too. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's like a cool also way to like see the parallels in your life and what works. And,
Yeah. I love that. Especially the part where you said like you love laughing. So you wanted someone like with that sense of humor we could laugh together. Like that just made me feel so warm. Because sometimes I think we make these lists and there's this like imaginary person that we have in our head. But to also reflect on some of the qualities that you love about yourself and know that like you want to find those beautiful qualities in someone else. Like, yeah. So you talked about dating in New York. I feel like New York is one of those cities that it could be quite like difficult to date in.
Mhm.
So I kind of want to understand, like, did you like look at, I mean, you explained you went into like dating intentionally and also about learning yourself, but sometimes I feel like there's like this game sometimes of like dating, like, oh, like you have to take 3 days to text him back, or this is like the sprinkle lady on TikTok.
Not the sprinkle, sprinkle.
What is the sprinkle? I'm like, what's the
I
sprinkle
think, I
lady?
think,
You don't know
oh
sprinkle
my God.
sprinkle?
Chanel, you love the sprinkle, sprinkle
I
lady.
do
I'm
love
about
sprinkle
to look up.
sprinkle, but it's very, very toxic information. Things
I
that
don't think
I
it's
don't know.
toxic. I think it's valuable to know, but you don't always have to implement it.
Okay.
Yeah, but as you're in a nicely secure relationship, you don't need to find the sprinkle lady. Avoid her.
I'm about to stalk the sprinkle lady. Full on.
And she's very about like women getting the bag and like, I wouldn't say using a man for what they have, but kind of like making sure you're getting what you need out of a relationship financially and you're kind of like taken care of.
Yeah,
Got
But
a
she
very
does
like
have,
fashion thinking about being a woman and
yeah.
very
okay.
feminine and
But I feel
all
like
these
she does have
things.
some good advice about like boundaries and kind of just like
Yeah,
sure you know your worth and not giving away too much and just focusing on what you need out of a relationship. So I
Okay.
don't know, she can be a bit toxic, but I don't know, sometimes her TikToks are too good. They're too good.
I mean, I love that. Okay, cool. All right.
yeah. So
But
I kind of want to understand, like, what are your views, kind of on like, I mean, you've been out of the dating environment for some time now, but even when you were there, like, your views on like how dating was and compared to like how it is now, kind of like this competition sometimes between men and women and the dating scene.
yeah. Okay. Hmm. My experience with dating, which is very different, it's like the unpopular opinion is like I said before, loved dating. I think that
Yeah.
something that my now boyfriend and I like actually have in common is that I think that he did too. And I think the reason why we both did is because
Mm,
it's really fun. So I think the thing that worked about us is like when we met, we were both down to like have a good time and have fun and like treat the date as like a fun thing to do together. And then we
Mhm.
both were like, oh, this feels nice. Let's like do another like thing together. Like we were like, let's keep going. Like this is great. And the game situation for me, and I feel really, which here's a little Jady sprinkle. I think that boundary wise, like if you're not if you're not feeling like if you're feeling like another person has control over you, then why do you want to live your entire life in this like gamey way? Like I just think
Yeah.
it's like um there's a lot of layers to this question because I think that one, there is value in a
Mhm.
little bit of like a hard to get feeling thing. Like there is value when you first meet someone in the feeling of like they're not super like there's just different parts of like people's advice that I think you can pull to like be
Yeah.
creative around your own version of that. And I think it's person dependent. So it's a hard thing to like give advice to someone about everything.
Mhm.
Like, hey, wait a week before you text them. Because if someone doesn't feel secure unless they feel like they're
Mhm.
heard, like that's not going to work for them and then it's not going to really keep going. So, I mean, I said to Jordan day 1, I was like or day 2 actually. I was like I I quote, I was like if you want to wait a week to text me, or you could just like text me tomorrow and we can hang out again. Like I'm down to hang out again if you want to hang out again. And then it was just
Mm.
us texting, let's hang out. Like it didn't become this thing because I feel
Mhm.
comfortable with him. And one of the first things I said to him was the thing I love about meeting you and like having time with you is that I don't feel like I'm in my head at all. And I think there's something
Mhm.
really nice when you are with someone where you fully don't feel in your head. You're just so
Yeah.
there that like you forget to be in your head. Um, and if someone makes you feel like you're constantly in your head, then um just clock that. Like just
Yeah.
that. Whether it be via text or in person, just being like, I can't stop thinking about how to talk to this person. Like
Mhm.
why is that happening? Especially like right away. Um,
Yeah.
but if you're like, wow, this person, like if you're not in your head and you're just existing, like that's the kind of person that you want to be with anyway. It's not shouldn't be this like it's like it can be a little gamey at first in terms of like the flirtation. There's a difference between flirting and like playing a
Mhm.
game with someone. And I think
Yeah.
like let's read a book about like the power of flirtation versus like how to get a girl or how to get a guy or how to get a human to text you back. Like it shouldn't be like
Yeah.
we're not like fishing. I'm not like here's a piece of popcorn. Let's see if she like bites the edge. Like I can reel her in. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, people are really complex, so it's not an easy question to answer. I think New York
Yeah.
dating scene specifically, it's like the classic conversation that maybe you've had with other people, especially in February, about how everybody's accessible, everyone's easy to text, everyone's easy to go on social media and see what they're up to. Everyone's
Mhm.
really easy to like go on another, it's really easy to go on another date the next day. Like there's a lot of layers.
Yeah.
And I think the fundamental like of it is when you go on a date and you're just enjoying yourself and they're enjoying themselves. Like be it's so cheesy, but like go on a date, be yourself, see how you feel, and then if they like you that because of how you are and who you are, then like that's someone that is good for you. Like that's a good
Yeah.
person to be
I
around.
love that. It's
They're
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you're talking a lot about just not putting a lot of pressure on the dates and going and having fun.
Mhm.
And I feel like so many times we go into a situation with these expectations or we feel like we have to be the perfect person. And I feel like as a result, putting all that pressure on it kind of takes away the fun. And then you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I think that especially in our time with social media, like a lot of people, in my opinion, are trying to be what they think they need to be or should be or could
Mm,
be instead of just like being.
yeah.
And the more you own who you are in this moment, not trying to be like so like I love talking about my past. I love talking about my childhood. I like almost went to school for psychology because I love like therapy and I'm go to therapy and but like my past is also like my sacred information that I'll share with you if I want to share with you. And
Mm-hmm.
I think like that being an exciting secret that you have to share with people, like that's a piece of you that you're giving to people. And if you're on a date and someone's willing to give you a sacred piece of their like heart and soul in the first however many minutes or hours that you've been with them, like that's nice. Like that's beautiful. And then if you connect and then like so you're taking a date second by second. You're not like try perfect like what are we even what I say with like so my boyfriend makes fun of me for saying this but like with love and respect to all of humanity like why are we putting so much pressure on like meeting someone like
Yeah.
they're just a person like going on a date too and so like if you're trying to be a perfect person like then they should be too and that's a lot of pressure for like both of you.
Mhm.
I think it should just be more fluid and like you're like I literally I remember I would like go on a date and I'd be like, "Hey, you okay tonight? Like how are you doing?" Like I very much treat like dates like I'm like gonna see how this friendship works and then if it ends up
Yeah.
being romantic, like that's cool.
Ah, that is important for sure. And then, I mean, we spoke quite a bit about it, but like even your first impressions of Jordan, um, like what was that like? Like you had the first meeting and everything, but when was it the point where it's like, okay, like I really enjoy this person's company, like probably your first impression of him and his first impression of you.
I remember pretty like Um, I right before we met, so I hadn't eaten fish. I've never had meat in my life. And I'm like never had dairy really unless it's like put in something and I'll try it. And I had eaten fish my entire life up until the point
Mm,
in which my mom and stepdad started a seafood company, plant-based seafood company. So we stopped
yeah.
eating fish for 3 years. So I wasn't eating fish at the time and Jordan was like, uh, we were messaging, and before we actually met in person, we connected the dots on the Phil friendship that was subletting my apartment. That was like a wild. So that was an immediate like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. Like
Yeah.
about this. So it felt very comfortable. Big banter girl. I think like if your texts are like back and forth, easy conversation, like that's like a quote unquote green flag of something to be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, it's so easy to text this person before we even met. Like this is great.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, you know? And so like that way when they meet you, like they're still meeting that person that's been texting them, unless you've had a friend like texting for you, which like I don't know. But um it's something you're like you're showing up as that person that's been texting them. Like that's great. So then so we were texting, it was great. So before we met in person, I was like so excited. And then he
Mhm.
said, I want to eat sushi. And not because I like let go of my boundaries, but I was like, you know what? Like I haven't had fish in 3 years and
Yeah.
I'd spent my whole life like eating fish. Like I'm down to like try it, spontaneity, which I don't recommend people just like all of a sudden become spontaneous if that's something that scares them, but something that works for me. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm down. So he came over to my apartment and we just ate sushi like on my floor. He like fed me sushi um and I cried while eating the sushi because I hadn't had it in so long. I was just like fully in tears, like I feel so because I genuinely felt like so uncomfortable, but I was so down to like push through it.
Yeah.
That is such an
Um,
intense date.
I know it's so fun. And it's like I was just like, oh my gosh. Um, like this is wild, but we just had a fun time. And before we met, there was something like in my gut. And I'm
Mm,
still trying to figure out like what it means to listen to your gut. Like I think it's really sometimes it's a little like how do you listen to it? But when I
yeah.
can listen to it, it feels like big. And so I was just like, wow, I feel all like jittery like about to meet him. And I was just and then we met and we didn't another like big conversation to have, but like
Yeah.
when you look in the eyes of the first date, like, are you supposed to be like, this is the one? Like, a lot of my friends often put pressure on themselves to be like, I didn't feel like that big feeling when I saw them
Mm,
or when we kissed. Um, and I think there's value in that in my experience. I don't think that it's everything. I think that there's
mm,
cool ways of that happening, but because of time, like
yeah.
you have a coworker that you see every week for 3 years, and then all of a sudden you're put in a certain circumstance where, like, yes, you've seen that coworker for 3 years straight, but there was something that happened
Mm,
where, like, all of a sudden you had a big feeling. Like, I think those things are possible, which then just makes me think that doesn't feel like a valuable piece of advice. Like that
mm,
person's gonna walk in and but when I met Jordan, there was definitely a feeling to be super
yeah.
transparent of like, wow, like there's like something, like I really like this person,
Yeah.
just from feeling comfortable immediately in like his presence. So I think there's value in energy exchanges, whether or not
Mhm.
that other person will admit to it. Like Jordan, I say the word energy, and Jordan's like watching a video about science and like doesn't really want to talk crystals with me, but I'm like, that's fine. Um, so I'm like, I have other people to support that part of myself. Like I don't need, I don't need no man. But yeah, I think yeah, like having fun with someone. And um what the minute that I to answer your question, the minute that I like really felt like I was hanging out with my best friend,
Yeah.
I was like, this this all the advice that the people I love the most who care about me and want
Mm,
have my best interest at heart and like I really trust their advice, like my grandma, like all of
yeah.
that clicking, not like, oh, I think I get it. Like it clicked. I was like, yeah, okay. I get I get it. Like, the probably cheesier cliche advice that your parent or guardian gives you like
Mhm.
growing up where they're like, you need to or you should feel like secure and heard and communication, all those things, like experiencing it, that clicking moment where you're like, I am experiencing this. I'm not like pretending that I'm experiencing this. I'm like experiencing this. Um,
Yeah.
it's your life. Like it's my life. Like my life, if I'm enjoying my life,
Mm,
and now this person is in my life and I'm still enjoying my life, like it's working. Something's working.
yeah.
Something's good. Um, I don't know if that answered your question,
No,
but
it did. It was perfect. It was perfect.
Oh my gosh, I feel like such good advice. I honestly feel like Chanel, now we have to like find someone who's like the other person. Like I feel like we need a
you need
partner
your
like each
Chanel. You
other.
need your
Yeah. I need
MRA.
my male
Yeah.
Chanel. So you always like say this, but I feel like hearing you like all of the things you've been saying, I feel like it validates it a lot. And it's so funny, even this idea of being comfortable with the person you're with, because I have so many
Mhm.
friends that will be in these relationships and I feel like they just make their lives harder. And I'm like, that's not the purpose of being in a relationship. Like you really are supposed to find someone that you can go through life together and kind of
Yeah,
Yeah.
handle those challenges.
totally. Totally. And like not to again, like my own Jade version of the advice is like my mom always teaching me treat others the way you want to be treated. Like in
Mm,
romantic settings, I think it's really a really cool tool um to like ask yourself like this is how I would treat myself and how I want to be treated, how and this is how I'm going to treat others. So like for example, if Jordan has like a big thing to do the night of something I really want him to go to. We
Mm.
feel comfortable and clear with each other that like as important as things are to me, if they're really important, I know that he will hear that and he'll make it happen
Mm.
for me. But I it's also important for me to recognize that
Mm.
like work is important to him. And I think like and it's just an even exchange of like respecting how you feel, but also like they're their own person too. Like giving them the space to have a life separate from you, as like people's
Mhm.
advice always is, like two individuals meeting and connecting, like that's so real. Like you really are two people that are having a life together, but it's
Mhm.
still your life and it's still their life, and like
Exactly.
respecting that for yourself and for the other person, I think is really. And then also like people are wired in different ways, and like what you were saying, Chanel, of just the first question being surrounding the languages, the love languages, and
Mhm.
how long it took me and him. And um it takes time to really get to know someone and to like adapt and adjust and talk and communicate and process and then communicate. And it's like a long lifetime of stuff. So if that is a lifetime of learning, like who do you
Yeah.
want to do that with? Like how are they responding right away? How are they engaging with you? Like, will they have enough, like, will they be able to say the word, like words, I'm sorry, and mean it? Like, can you say you're sorry to them? And if you can't, like, why don't you want to? Like, just kind of, you know, it's like a never ending thing. Um, and it shouldn't be so hard, and it should be fun. Like it should be
Yeah.
fun to be in a relationship with someone.
Mhm. And also, I mean, one of the things that I guess we know, is that Jordan, he plays the saxophone in a band. And I think they were on tour with like the Jonas Brothers, like do a
Or
little name. So you both have this like this love for like music and creativity. But you also mentioned like maybe you'll be interested in crystals and he'll want to be like playing in his game or something. So like sometimes it could be like a difference in like your interests as well. Like there's some things that you're both interested in and maybe have different interest in. So what is your take on like being compatible with a person and like chemistry? Like if there's one that's more important or something that you have to both work on when it comes to compatibility and chemistry.
yeah. Um, so hot take. I don't think that like full-blown opposites attract. I
Mhm.
don't think that I think that like opposites can hang and opposites can like have like a respectful conversation.
Yeah.
I think opposites can be like fun to have a drink with, but I don't think like opposites attract in a way that
Mhm.
makes your life like easy for the rest of your life. Like I've listened to enough stories about like such difference that,
Mhm.
again, another piece of advice that like my family has given me, my grandma, my mom, like is one, you sign up for what you get, or you
Yeah.
get what you sign up for. You get what you sign up for. So like if you go on a date with someone who is the opposite of you in a specific way, like that's what you're signing up for if you're in a relationship with them. You're not
Mhm.
don't spend your entire life trying to change them because everything else matters. Like
Yeah.
if that is enough for you to be like in your head, or it's enough for you to be like, okay, like this
Mhm.
is a real thing. For example, not a great example, but the guy, with all due respect, I dated a guy before Jordan who was like a huge sports fanatic. And I don't do sport. I just don't like care enough about sports. I like
Yeah.
you're fine. I went to an Islanders game last week. I had the best time. I'm like so down. But I don't know that being with a guy who's like watching sports all of the time because they love it.
Mm,
I actually think that they deserve a girl who loves it just as much as they do, or a guy that loves it just as much as they do. Like, please find someone who can share that passion with you because I won't be able to give that to you. And I think it's important to recognize that, like, I'm not going to be able to give that to you. And
mm,
eventually, you're going to be like wanting to do that all the time. And I'm going to get frustrated and we're going to clash. And, like, like,
yeah.
those things matter. So I think compatibility like really matters because if Jordan being playing the saxophone, like I studied musical theater in school, we can sit at the piano and sing together for like 3 hours. I wake up and I'm like, I want some coffee. And then like we're all of a sudden spending an hour writing a song about coffee together just
Oh, I
for
love
like,
that.
well, like I can't, I don't know if I could be with someone who like says like, can you stop singing every single thing like about the day? If they said that to me, I'd be like, I'm gonna lose myself. Like in this relationship, I like need to sing everything. So like I think that's someone who like enables those parts of you or like
Mhm.
like if you want to talk for an hour about the science behind something, like someone who isn't gonna shut that down. Someone who's
Yeah.
like, maybe they don't know as much as you do. I don't know a lot about like X, Y, and Z that Jordan knows, but Jordan really is I care about my work too, but Jordan like really cares about his work in a way that is very like not 9 to 5. My life is not nine
Mhm.
to five. I spent my entire life sitting next to my mom who's an entrepreneur and she's on her computer at 1 in the morning. Like I'm used to that. So I think there
Mm,
is such importance in compatibility because if you need structure and you're dating
yeah.
someone that has a 9 to 5, like that will be easy for you to settle into. If someone
Yeah.
doesn't have a 9 to 5 or you don't, and that person that you're dating doesn't get it,
Mhm.
it's gonna be hard for you two to like really interact and communicate because eventually there's gonna be resistance and like frustration and like built up resentment. Like there's things that compatibility matters. And then chemistry, like I said before, it's like it's hard to say. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think there that absolutely chemistry matters. It's not like the end all be all. There's a lot of
Mhm.
compatibility that I think like can trump chemistry in certain moments. But
Oh,
did I do that?
I think so.
No.
I haven't even touched my computer. I
That
swear.
was crazy.
I was like,
That was a
is
floating
that
Absolutely
is
correct.
that the Valentine's Day God being like, I don't know.
That,
I'm like, I haven't even I'm like, I hope I'm making sense. And then they were like, you are, don't worry.
that
Um,
was a sign from the universe you were on the right path.
oh my God, that's so funny. Well, whoever did that up there, or you, or Chanel's like, don't tell her. Um,
No. You know.
No, that blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, wow.
I know. Or I was like, chemistry's like pretty good, and they're like, no, it's really it matters. But yeah, no, I think I think the chemistry thing comes from like a knowingness of like, "Mm,
Yeah.
okay. There's like
Mhm.
there's a flirtation, there's like a back and
Mhm.
forth. I'm not like I'm being challenged. I'm
Yeah. The
comfortable to
banter.
feel challenged. Yeah, there's like there's a thing that's happening in you. It's like a cool
Yeah.
thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
But in terms of compatibility, I mean, you and Jordan, you're both in that entertainment space. You said you have very flexible schedules. So how do you kind of maintain boundaries and still be your own person in that relationship when sometimes those
Mm,
things can overlap?
Mhm. Like specifically with like work or just generally and boundaries.
Both work otherwise.
Yeah. Um, not to like uh what is the saying? Like beating a horse so
being the head
Of
over
course.
the bat.
yeah,
Beat
yeah,
over
yeah.
your head
I
with the
was like,
bat.
how does that old saying go? Um, but I think that it's important to be wired
Mm,
similarly or at the very least understanding someone's wiring. Like my mom will use that word a lot. Like people are wired differently. Like people are thinking differently based on like their experience or how they just are as a person. So I think um when you start to get to know someone, like, for example, if Jordan has, um if Jordan has work until, like, late at night because they're working on something, uh, I treat him the way I would wanna be treated. So if I'm
Mm,
really passionate about something and I really need to spend however long to do it, um, like, it would be important for me for him to, like, be comfortable with the fact that I'm working on this thing. Um,
yeah.
and I know that in having gotten to know Jordan and, like, intimately, like, living together, and he's very considerate and thoughtful,
Mm,
and that matters more to me than the fact that he has to work until 1 AM sometimes,
mm,
because his consideration of me will look like this: "Hey, like, do you want me to work in the living room so we can, like, be in the same room together?" Or like, "I'm
mm,
sorry that I'm working this late, but, like, tomorrow I'm not gonna be working this late so we can go to that dinner." Like, there's such consideration for my feelings knowing that he has to do something, that I don't feel like it's a jab at, like, him not wanting to spend time with me, or and if
yeah.
I feel that way, I will always ask myself before I blame, ask, talk
Mm,
to him, even talk to him about it. I'll ask myself, like, "Why am I really feeling this way?" Maybe let me, like, wait until therapy on Monday so I can talk about, like, maybe why I feel insecure, and, like, is there something that I'm not doing in my own life that, like, him doing something else is making me feel like I'm not doing enough? Like, I think there's a lot of complexity to, like, so the whole being your own individual, like, when I'm setting a boundary,
yeah.
I know why I'm setting the boundary for myself, like, why I
Mm,
need that. Otherwise, it's just kind of like talking to talk, or, like, saying things that won't be sustainable because you didn't feel, it's like asking for something that you don't know what you want. Like, if
yeah.
I set a boundary and I'm setting it because I actually am the one feeling insecure, um, then that boundary won't be sustainable because, like, I won't even know what I asked for. I'm just asking for it because from an emotional place versus
Mm,
really understanding myself place, um, and so, like, letting someone be, uh, letting someone be, letting yourself be,
mm,
and then it's like an ebb and flow because you've gotten to know them and they've gotten to know you, and it's not like this hard, like, we're trying to, like, fit a round peg in a square hole feeling.
yeah.
You're just, like, talking, and then you feel something, and then he'll say to me, he'll be like, "Hey, like, you seemed a little bit weird last night." And I was like, "Yeah, I think I was feeling a little passive, but that's, like, something I have to think about. It has nothing to do with you." Or like, "Yeah, I was a little
Mm,
upset that you were working last night, but, like, ultimately, it's not a big deal because I know you're not working next week." It's like you can just
yeah.
feel safe to, like, express yourself in real time versus it be like, um, you're on the same team.
Yeah.
That's setting boundaries. You're setting boundaries together. You're not setting
Yeah.
boundaries because you need, like, space from them. You're setting boundaries because you need them to know you more, get to know you more.
Yeah. I always hear that it's never like in a relationship, it's never like you against the person, but it's always you and the person against the problem.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mm.
totally.
Well, I wanted to also ask you because I feel like we got a lot of really good gems from grandma and mommy and
Yeah.
mom. Like they had really good gems. And he also brought up like even your relationship with your brother. And I feel, I mean, just from our conversation here, I feel like you learned a lot about relationships through your family.
Mm,
And even just opening up about like the love languages and the attachment styles. Like at least for me, I feel like of course, we're impacted by the relationships we have by our family members, but at least for me, I feel like I never was able to really talk about or have conversations with like even my mom, my grandmother about what kind of relationships I want to have, either if it's with friends or with or romantically. Um, Not to make this into a therapy session, but
no.
for
You know I'm
you, I
always
feel like
down.
yeah, but from you, from this conversation we had, I feel like you were able to kind of get a sense of what kind of relationships you wanted from maybe conversations with your family members?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that question. Um, so my parents got divorced when I was younger. So I definitely think
Mm,
that there's a lot of me that um romanticized stability and consistency,
yeah.
and but I experienced it in different ways. Like my grandparents surrounded me growing up, so I feel really
Mm-hmm.
grateful that like I had representations. Like something that my therapist would say is like, "Oh, like with the instability, like you looked for and observed your own versions of stability." And so I had to use your terminology, like I had these little
Yeah.
gems throughout my life that I had as um like just yeah, representations of what I eventually wanted to get out of
Mm,
a relationship. Um, and even having a relationship with my grandparents, like
yeah.
the way that they listen to me, the way that they care about me, like, yeah, I want a boyfriend who listens to me like my grandma. Like, let's go. Like, that would be amazing. And then also to have someone who like respects my grandma. Like I so yeah,
Yeah.
my brother and I growing up were really close. My brother's gay
Mm,
and he what came out really young. So that was also an experience I had where like both myself and my mom like were very I mean, I went to a sleepaway camp that was like a performing arts sleepaway camp that everybody felt very comfortable to be who they were. That was like a very sacred, cool, like uh unique environment for young people to be in at an early age.
yeah.
Their like discovery of what relationships looked like. And my brother was like 9 years old when he like came out to us and was able to say that he was gay. So
Yeah.
we all I think, and then my mom dated a lot when I was growing up. She had a long
Yeah.
boyfriend and then she was dating. So I was able to see so many different like pathways for relationships and like have my own understanding of it.
Yeah.
And um I was lucky to have had very open conversation about relationships growing up. Whether it be my mom being like open about a date that she had or meeting my dad's, second wife, like, while I was with him, and him, like, being like, "Oh, I like her." Like, just watching him
Yeah.
do that, or my brother coming out and, like, that being totally, like, "Yeah, great. Like, who do you have a crush on?" Like, "What
Yeah.
boy do you have a crush on?" I just think it was just so fluid, and so I always wanted what I didn't have, which was, like,
Mhm.
security, stability, consistency, and, like, longevity,
Yeah.
but I also wanted what I did have, which was just, like and Jordan appreciates that about me. I'm very, like, "I'm feeling this way." I'm not afraid to be like, "This isn't working." I'm not afraid and that was something I carried into dating often, like, if something wasn't working, not in a way that, like what you asked Anne Marie about boundary setting, like, it it wasn't an emotional boundary, I would just be very
Yeah.
transparent in a very loving way, like, I always share and deliver messages with a lot of love, but I think that if you can't be honest enough, like, um, it makes it challenging to, trust
Mhm.
that, and, yeah, I think, your childhood is really influential on also why you do certain things in relationships. Like, what is that attachment style? Why are you
Mhm.
and I think that the more you can understand, like, the complexity within yourself, um,
Yeah.
the more you can show up for another person, um,
Mm.
confidently, because, like, it's really important to be and I say this to Jordan, like, it's really important to be honest with your partner and really important to be honest with the people around you. But, like, maybe while you were to speak for myself, while I was growing up, like, there were certain things about me that, like, that I'm still learning about. And I think it's as I said before, when you're dating and you're sharing sacred pieces of yourself, like
Mm,
that's a ever evolving journey, even when you're in a 3-year long relationship. Like sometimes I say to Jordan, I'm like, I don't want to talk about it right now. Because like
mm,
I need like to be with this is my thing that I'm dealing with right now. And it's not because I don't want to be honest. It's just because like I don't really I don't really need someone right now. And like, but I will let Jordan be there for me in so many ways. But I think
mm.
like it's okay to be like, this is my like
Yeah.
privacy right now. Like this is my moment with myself today. Like
Yeah.
so.
It's so beautiful, I think, to see you kind of develop that relationship, not only with somebody else, but with yourself. And you talked about
Mm,
how you've been trying to just trust your gut more. And I feel like that's so important in a relationship. And so I'm wondering, like, what are you doing to build that trust in your gut? How do you know when it's the right thing to do?
Yeah. Um I I think that like it's easier to it's easier to know what to do based on experience.
mm.
The like classic like you won't know till you're older. Like you don't get it. You're just I think that there is so much value in
It's
just like
so true.
getting older. Like all like
Yeah.
suddenly you just experience more and you're like, oh yeah, last time I did that, like that didn't go well.
There you
So
go. Wow.
I'll do this.
I think also when you're young, like things seem so serious sometimes because I haven't lived enough life to be like, okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
get past this. So I feel like now I can look back and be like, oh, I remember that time I had this bad situation and I figured out how to like get through it. But like at the time, it was like I didn't know anything else. So it was just kind of like, this is never gonna end.
totally. No, you're just like throwing darts at the wall and you're like, hopefully one will get a bullseye and then I don't know. But like, not the best metaphor. Gotta work on my Sunday morning metaphors. But
I liked it.
yeah, thanks. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of also like similar to dating. Like you go on a couple dates and then you're like, oh, I'm not gonna like do it this way. But then suddenly someone has you say something and you were like, oh, I wasn't gonna do that, but now I am, and you seem okay with it, so this is going well. Like
Yeah.
real time learning. So trusting my gut looks like being honest with myself in the moment and like asking myself like how will this impact me? Like it's I think for me like my biggest challenge with trusting my gut is like trusting gut versus impulsive behavior.
Mm,
So, um, I try it's I what I've learned about myself is like I do have impulsive tendencies. Like I can be very impulsive because of my spontaneity and like I'm a little like hard to focus, ADD kind of ways in which I think about things as I answer your questions and I'm like A, Z, X, B, W, like
no, but I love it.
going on.
It all
I've learned like, oh, I just went on a tangent. Like, how do I and how I do that is I'll like repeat the question so out loud or to myself so that I can actually answer the question. Like you learn different methods to your own madness. So I
Yeah.
think trusting my gut um is like for me like slowing down,
Mm,
sometimes taking a deep breath, sometimes I forget. It just depends on and then I'm like, okay. Like even something as simple as my gut being like, "Actually take a breath right now." Like, I think there's just something so special about like trusting your gut being such an unknown thing. Like, you don't really know if like I just trusted my gut and I'm like, "Oh my god, like what if I don't know." Like,
I
yeah.
have the same, yeah, I have the same fear. So that's why it's like it's so important to build that trust in yourself, but
yeah,
it's hard.
it's hard, but I think a key to what you just said is like you're building that trust with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Building that trust with yourself. How long did it take to build the Eiffel Tower? Like, I don't
So
know. That
long.
seems hard. But like building is hard. So I think it's like building the trust. Like I feel like building the trust within your gut is like building something taller than the Eiffel Tower.
I think
Like
so.
we're building something that's so ever evolving. And like sometimes like the tower might knock down and you forget like how to trust your gut. But like, for example, when you trusting your gut can look like, oh wow, like the 7 years I spent in my last relationship of being defensive,
Mm,
like, my gut says that, like, that wasn't an effective way to share how I was feeling, like, and that could be your gut being like, "Don't do that anymore."
mm,
So, you can still defend yourself, but what does it look like to not be as defensive in a relationship? And, like, that doesn't mean you're not being authentic, that just means you're a better version of yourself. You learned from experience, and now your gut's like, "Don't do that again." It didn't
It didn't work.
And then your gut says, "Oh, this person, like, is really receiving you. It doesn't matter how you're acting because you're more inclined to apologize. There's more inclined you're more comfortable." Like,
mm,
trusting your gut is just, like and for my gut, when my gut shares information with me, it feels intimate. Like, like, sometimes, like, being honest is really important, but sometimes my gut will be like, "Keep this to yourself right now." I'm not, like,
yeah.
lying about anything, but my gut's like, "This is for you," or share, "This is something important
Mm,
right now, like, you should share." And then my brain will be like, "Okay, I should share this. I'm thinking about it. Maybe that came from my gut. Now that I'm thinking about it enough, maybe my guts like think about it. So my brain's
yeah.
responsibility is how do I share this effectively
Mm.
where the person can actually receive what I'm saying and like we can get through this together. Like
Mm.
there's
Method to the madness.
it's all happening. Yeah, and it's all a machine, like, your gut
Mhm.
tells you something that your heart feels, and now your mind needs to deal with how to take action, like,
Yeah.
situation.
It's crazy how it's all connected.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, it's exhausting. I need a nap. Just kidding. Never taken a nap before.
Oh. Okay, so two things before we let you go and say the rest of your hotspot.
Yes, please.
First, I want us to know more about your non-for-profit Entertainment for Change.
Yes. So my nonprofit is a nonprofit I've been working on for about 6 or 7 years now. I
Mm-hmm.
started out of college. My relationship with my nonprofit, we've like, oh my gosh, the amount of fighting breakups we've gone through. But my nonprofit is one of the loves of my life. And that is because I mean, oh my gosh, like I could go on a whole tangent about being in a relationship with your work. Like I always compare work to romantic relationships all the time. Like don't marry your job, just like date them right now. Um but to answer your question, my nonprofit is a curriculum now. There's a lot of like different versions of my nonprofit, but my nonprofit
Mhm.
now is an educational curriculum that empowers preteens and teens to use their
Yeah.
art for activism, specifically aligned to one or more of the United Nations Sustainable Development
Mm,
Goals. During COVID, I built a like framework for a curriculum, and for the past 2, 3 years, we've been developing a way in which we can bring this curriculum to schools and for at-home learning. So we're like creating scripts right now and a workbook and different ways to teach young people how to be an impact artist, which is a term that I
mm,
trademarked during COVID. And the long-term vision is to have young people self-identify as an impact artist as a tool for
yeah.
empowerment.
Oh, I love that. I think that's so relevant to today. Like first, but the world is burning. But also like
You
you
know,
can
it's like,
see
let's get to the point here.
yeah, But you also see like a lot of
Forget
people in
dating.
entertainment.
Who cares? Yeah.
But yeah, you see a lot of people in entertainment who are taking stands and speaking about things that they're really passionate about. And especially in the world of influencers, you see that their voice is carrying and making a change. So I think what you're doing is super impactful.
Thank you. Appreciate that a lot.
Mm.
And I actually want to
Mhm.
ask you about the sustainable development goals. Do you have a favorite or one that you're incredibly passionate about? So Chanel and I, we actually met when we were in college. We
Okay.
were part of a club called Isaac, so we were doing work related to the SDGs as well. So, we love a good SDG.
What's your favorite, both of you?
I like gender equality and
Okay.
quality education. That's the one I did the most work on. Just I think it's so important to like speak to other people, share your culture and the things that make you who you are. And I think having those intimate conversations with other people are really impactful.
Totally.
Yeah. I would say quality education always was number one in my heart. But now I work for an organization that also kind of works towards making better lives for people. So I think number 17, which is like companies and organizations coming together to actually make a change. So
Yeah, that's a good
yeah.
one too.
Yeah, quality education is super important to me. I never realized how important it was to me before like my nonprofit went in that direction. But
Mhm.
um I just like in reflecting and what the next steps of the nonprofit looked like, I was like, I don't think my education was that good.
Mm.
I think it's called Waiting for Superman. There's like a documentary about the education system.
Yeah.
And like it shined a lot of light on just my like the testing and like how that
Hmm.
translates to how you learn effectively. And it just I was in a school system that was so heavily tested and a lot of pressures, and I'm a slow learner, so it was like not a conducive learning environment for me. So I
Hmm.
couldn't agree more. And then good health and well-being. I like really feel passionate about talking about health in this way that like is very fluid and very free and very unapologetic, like not apologizing for feeling the way you're feeling both mentally and
Hmm.
physically, just being like, this is something that I need to own. Because the minute that you can own it unapologetically, I think more people are well equipped to either help you or listen
Yeah.
versus not try to fix it. Just like you could start to get to the bottom of things faster versus like spending a week deciding whether or not you're even going to say it in the first place.
Yeah.
It's so
I get
important. I mean, like you said, there's just not enough good education around the things I think we actually need to know to be
that.
functioning human beings. So I'm so excited that you have this nonprofit and you're really pushing this out there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last part. Oh, Emery, do you want to say something?
No, I was gonna do the last part. I was
Oh,
gonna steal it from you, but you
you
can
can do
go
it. You
ahead.
can do it.
Okay, so we like to end every episode with an exercise that Chanel has taken from ChatGPT. We basically
Wow.
asked ChatGPT how we should
I
end
don't.
episodes. What, you don't want me to explain it? I knew you were gonna say
You
that.
don't need that. You don't need to bring Chad into this, okay? But
I
okay,
just, for
fine.
some reason, I wanted Jade to know. I wanted her to know about it.
No, I feel like
I, I felt she would appreciate.
I do appreciate it. No, I really appreciate it. ChatGPT is fun. I love being in a relationship with ChatGPT.
But he's my boyfriend.
No. Oh my gosh, ChatGPT is a
He's
little
my boyfriend too.
killer.
He is really hustling
I
the
can
girls
share
out
him with you
here.
though, Jade. I can share him with you.
ChatGPT is going around and like trying to impress everyone and everything. It's like
It's
not
Valentine's. He's got to find his Valentine, you know? We're coming up on that time.
true. True. You know what? Fine. Give him. Oh.
All right, well, the girls of Sweet 15 and also ChatGPT would like you to tell the listeners the first thing that comes to your mind and the last thing you want to leave everybody with. So just a big
Yeah.
takeaway.
Oh my gosh, the first thing that came to my mind was jump rope, but that has nothing to do with the takeaway.
That is totally okay though. If you want to speak about jump rope, popcorn, and seaweed, it can be anything you want.
Okay.
All
I
right.
did an exercise yesterday with a friend, and Jordan, my boyfriend, where like you say something random and you give a TED talk about it for 2 minutes. But
Yeah.
what I will say about jump ropes, which I have no idea why that came into my brain, but I can make every date is like the jump rope coming around, and all you have to do is jump. That's all you have to do. And then something else will come around, and all you have to do is jump. And that's same exact thing with a relationship too. Like once you're in a relationship with someone, all you have to do is jump. And then the minute that you fall, then you just have to like start again. You just have to
Yeah.
now take a second, be like, what do I need to communicate here? Or why is this not working? Why am I
Mm-hmm.
falling? Is the jump rope knotted? And then you just keep going. And then all you have to do is jump. That was crazy.
No, I loved it though. It made sense. It made
At
sense.
least I can end on like maybe an okay metaphor.
I think that was so beautiful. I kind of wanted to cry a little bit because especially like the jumping bit. I feel like for
Yeah.
me that's so hard sometimes, just taking that first leap because you don't want to get hurt, and I feel like you just gotta
Yeah.
put yourself out there. So it's so
Yeah.
true.
Scary.
Relationships
No,
are
every
like
time
jump
you go on
rope.
a date, just be like, all I have to do is like a little jump. It's not even a big jump.
Yeah.
Tiny little jump.
Yeah.
Sprinkle,
And
sprinkle from Jade.
and also the rhythm and the timing of jumping rope is so important. And it's the same with romance, relationships, the timing and the rhythm.
Yeah, timing and the rhythm.
It's
Timing
so
and
good.
the rhythm. Um, and then what I want people to take away is maybe that like don't put pressure on yourself to do anything more than like that little jump.
Mm,
Start with the little jump and then start adding tricks and crazy stuff to your jump.
Double Dutch. Yeah.
Yeah, do some double dutch, do a backflip, like, but you can't do those things until you do that little jump.
do the little jump. Jade, honestly. So many gems dropped in this recording. So
Oh
thank
my
you so much.
So good. I feel like I can't wait to step away and I'm gonna make my list. I'm gonna make a list right after this episode. I'm so
Make your
excited.
list. Make your list. Truly, I mean, make your list and put it in your drawer.
Okay.
And trust your list. Trust your list. That's your gut making your list. Don't make a list based on what you think should be on it. Make a list on like what your gut tells you to put on the list.
I love it.
Wow. And then we'll
Aw.
have an episode next year, and I want to hear like which parts of your list. Like,
I'm so excited for that.
So signing out, this has been Chanel.
This has been Anne Marie Gaidosh.
and this has been Jade Zaroff.
And this has been Sweet 15.
Thanks for having me.
The recording has stopped.